I'm going to show how to tie the new harness. Okay, so this harness and the leash is all one piece. They're not separate like my original harness idea. The idea is you put this on and take it off as needed. And the benefit with this is the ease of putting it on, taking it on and off versus the other harness that's pretty much stays on unless you've got a real good handle on the mink. So take the string and you double it over. Really simple. Same knot as I used in the original harness idea. So you doubled it over, see? And all you do is you tie it over itself. See, so really simple. There's no way to really get this wrong as long as you've got both ends. Alright, and see, so you've got a little loop. Then once you've cleaned the loop up, right, so it's just the right size hole here, you don't have the big tail sticking out, you got the loop cleaned up. Then you just take the opposite end of the leash and you run it back through. Pretty simple. So that now you've got this little snare type deal, like a little lasso, a little lariat, snare, noose, whatever you want to call it. And this is what's going to go over the mink's head. See? Just like that. And it tightens. Now we need to make the part that goes over his chest. So you make the same exact knot you've been making all night long. Right? Make a loop, double the string over. You take it, just go around itself. It's the easiest knot in the world. I don't know what it's called, an overhand knot? I don't even know. But it doesn't even need a name. It's too simple to have a name. You just tie it over itself. So you make a little noose. Now, obviously you don't want it quite that big, so you just shrink it down a little bit. Okay, so you got about good little size. Okay, so now you want it so that this noose is just big enough to go over the mink's head comfortably, but not too big. You're gonna have to do a little trial and error to see how big or small that needs to be, but just big enough that fits over the mink's head snugly. So this is about the size for a male mink, about that big, a big male. You know, a little female, we're talking like this big, you know. But it's a little big now, even for a male, so I'm just going to tighten it by feeding some of the string into the loop and pull on the side so that this gets shorter. Okay. And this will make our loop really big again. So we got a giant loop, so then we go the opposite and feed it back into the tail. So now you want this to get longer, right? Oh, yep, I did the right one. Okay, so now you get this loop to where it's about the right size. And you've got this little one in the back. You take the end of the leash and you run it back through again. So now, once again, same idea as the original harness. You have two loops. The difference is this loop can get as big or as small as you want. Now, a good idea, you don't have to do this, but if you've got a big old male that's got a lot of weight behind him, you might want to tie a knot in it at the right place so that it doesn't just keep tightening down, it actually stops like this. You don't have to do this, but if you got a big heavy male, it's a good idea. So now it can only get this tight. So if you go put it on your male mink and it's like this, he's pulling tight and there's still slack between it and the knot, and you got this knot in the wrong place, you need to move it over a little bit. Okay? That way it tightens down a little bit less. So then he's pulling and it's like this. See how there's a little slack? See, it's not just tightening on his body. It stops tightening. However, if it's like this, it's not going to work because he's going to slide down his body. So you kind of got to have a happy medium. And you see, the beautiful thing about this idea is it's easier to get on and off the mink, because you can make this back loop as big as you want, right? And then once the mink's head goes through it, and then this part goes around over his legs, then you quickly tighten it, boom, and you got it. So yeah, it's basically an easier to use version of the same idea, just a slight change. So we made a new harness here. As you see, let me use this little table so I can show you. 2 loops. The first one goes over their neck. The last one goes over their body. And since it's attached to the leash, you can make this last one as big as you want. That's where the advantage comes in. You can make this thing huge if you want to. Makes it easier to put on the mink. So, the other design worked great for the little females, but I was having trouble with the big males, especially the fat ones. So I invented this new harness.
Yeah, let's show them the tube.
I also have a new harnessing device, basically identical to the other one, except I'm using a tube. It's solid and dark. They like to go in there a lot more than the wire tube. And same idea. You can tighten the end down, put the harness on. You could use this with the traditional harness or the new harness design. You always want to put the neck part last. And if you see, we've cut grooves. See, it's a corrugated pipe, so it's got these grooves. We left a portion of the groove. So you can look real close there. There's a little portion of the groove here, a little portion of it here, a little bit at the bottom. This is just something you got to mess with and get it just right. There's no, like, as you can tell, it's kind of looks crappy. It's just what works. There isn't a specific formula for this. But what works is you want the knot on the top. And this is the neck portion, right? The knot on the top and the loose string at the bottom, and you want this to just barely hold this. If it's too loose, it'll pop off when the mink just runs through it, and it won't get caught. If it's too hard, the mink will go all the way through it, and it'll get around his waist, or it won't get on him at all. It'll stay on there. See how it kind of snapped like that? It's almost like a trap. The minute he starts pushing through that, it pops around his neck, and he's caught. If it doesn't pop around his neck, either he goes all the way through and you don't get him at all, or it pops off around his armpits, and then you're really annoyed because you got to get it off him. So you want it just right, and you don't want to leave it totally like that. You kind of want a little bit hanging, just a little bit, or else they'll stick their nose under it. At the bottom, that way he's likely to get caught in it. Another thing I added to this idea is a little stabilizer, so it's not rolling around everywhere, so it's not so annoying. And you just take this, and you see, if you notice with this new harness design, this piece is loose. It's not tight, it's loose. And you just hold the end of this string. When the mink goes through, you just kind of pull it, and it tightens around his armpit area, and this is around his neck, this is around his armpit area. So we'll show you how it works. Alright, first you always want to start out by doing some dry runs. Especially when you're training him to run through the tube, do a lot of dry runs. He's already trained to run through the tube, but you still want to do 2 or 3 dry runs so they don't get a negative experience from, thinking they're going to get harnessed every time. If your mink doesn't seem to care, then you can cut out the dry runs. If he still cares, you want to keep the dry runs going for as long as he needs it. See, I've got it to where he's not going to doesn't get set, so he's not going to get caught. We're just having him run through it so that he gets a piece of meat just for going through it. We'll do one more, and then I'm going to set it. Oh, he's already gone through. I got to get him a treat. We'll do one more here. Run through. He gets a piece of meat. So he learns that going through there is what gets him treats. So he's figured that out. You saw I gave him a couple dry runs. Now we'll try and get it set so he actually gets caught this time. But you don't want him to know he's caught. You want to do everything you can do to avoid him realizing he got the harness put on him. Because if he doesn't like it, he's going to start getting tricky. These things are smart. Mink will figure out how to go through it, get the food, and not get it set off really quick. So you don't want him to know he's getting caught. You want, as soon as it's caught on him, you want to make sure he's got lots of slack and he doesn't realize that what he just did got him stuck. So, okay, we got it set. Unfortunately, I didn't have any meat, but that's okay because he slid right through it. So I gotta set this a little better. See how he slid right through it? I don't know if you guys can see that. I'll try and get it going the other way.
Yeah, that'd be better.
You want just a little bit of this. Hey, come on, hold on, buddy. See, he knows the game. He knows going through there gets him treats. You want just a little bit of this hanging off so when he goes through it catches around his bottom legs. No, hey. And he gets caught in there. Hold on, buddy.
Got it. Perfect.
See, and then you just give it a slight tug. And you want to get this out of here as soon as you can, or he'll go through it again and maybe tangle it. Did you get it on film?
Oh, we got it good too.
Awesome.
Look at that.